Everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric, another episode of the Unported playlist where we take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time, and we're looking at Beastbusters by SNK from 1989 today. If you've been watching the channel whatsoever, you know I love the sequel on the Hyper Neo Geo 64, so it's time to talk about the original. Before we get too far involved, if you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, ring that notification bell, it definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined, we have a Patreon link down there as well if you want to support the channel. But just like its sequel, Beastbusters Second Nightmare, I love this game. And we're just going to select the first player, Johnny Justice. It's an amazing name. And we're going to get right into the game. And again, if you've been watching my channel, you know I absolutely love light gun games. And I love the way Beastbusters is presented with these big, chunky text boxes right before the game starts, just giving you a little bit of story. What I love about this game so much, and what I loved about the sequel, is that it is just from start to finish completely action-packed. The amount of enemies on screen at any one time is huge, so your management of your bullets and what's going on is going to be really important. And you will see that there are bullets that are falling from the skies, and this is not the type of game where you need to manually reload. So long as you're holding down the trigger on whatever control pad you're using to emulate this game, bullets are going to continue to come out. But what you can accidentally do, it is hard, but it is possible, is you can run out of ammunition. So you're always not only managing what's in front of you and what enemies you have to shoot, but you also have to worry about ammo management. But I love how colorful this game is. It's a total horror game, and we're definitely what looks like the New York City subway system with all the different spray paint on the side of those cars there. But even though it's so colorful, all the gore is great. The zombies just explode into a blood spray, chunks come out, everything looks amazing. And now we're to the first little mini boss. I don't love shooting dogs, even if they're zombie dogs, but there's just so much going on screen at once. And especially for 1989, having this much content being pushed at you without any slowdown was really impressive. And you even get these nice scaling segments where we're basically receding into the subway tunnel as we're moving along. And we get the nice warning sign before the first boss comes up, and it's pretty fun how this game kind of treats their enemies, because this is definitely a punk zombie. He's throwing knives at us, he's got his leather studded jacket on, and he ends up turning into a larger, different colored dog. But the patterns and the way that the bosses move, it's challenging without ever feeling unfair, and honestly, as far as the cheapness or not of this game is concerned, it's actually not that bad on using credits. I went through this whole thing, and I will put a full playthrough up, and I don't continue in an inordinate amount of time. Certainly it probably would have cost $15 to finish the game in arcades, but it's a relatively long game, so it's not too bad. But of course, like any arcade game, there has to be an elevator level. It's either an elevator level, a sewer level, or a water level that you're always going to get. But how often do you get football zombies being carried by what look to be large owls into the screen? The game just has a great sense of humor, and it's always making you smile. And the sequel does that as well. Maybe not so much. They pushed a lot more of the horror elements. But now you have these hockey mask muscle men that dive at you in a flexing pose. It's just always fun. And this kind of reminds me of Cho Aniki ever so slightly in some of the character designs. It definitely doesn't push the humor as far as that series does, but it definitely has that vibe. And like I said, these fun intercuts, bodies are everywhere. Are these the missing? Well, I'd assume they're the missing. I mean, where else would they be? It's a zombie apocalypse. The missing people are probably now the zombies. But I love the flow of the game as well. You start with some side-scrolling action, then you're going to go into kind of those like sprite scaling elements, and you'll see I took my first death. So I was able to get to the second stage on just the first credit that I put in. And as far as an arcade game is concerned, if you can get past the first stage without spending more money, it's usually a sign that the game is relatively fair. But it just has so many nice set pieces. This arms truck comes in, and there actually is a third game in the Beastbuster series, Dark Arms. It's an RPG game for the Neo Geo Pocket. It's quite expensive. I've never played, but it is a series that SNK has used more than once. And there's a fourth game that was mobile only that I never even downloaded because I don't think it was available in the US region. But this is one of those SNK franchises that you don't hear mentioned much, but they've actually done a lot with it. And again, after we're done with the scrolling segment, we're going to be going into the foreground with this really nice scaling, and everything scales really well on this board, especially for the fact that it's from 1989. The sprites are decent resolution, nothing's too pixelated, and everything runs at a perfect 60 frames per second with zero slowdown. But I'll let you do now. We'll just talk for another minute, and then I'm going to let you listen to some of the music because it's got a really good soundtrack to it as well. And I will leave a link in the description below to my full playthrough and commentary about Beastbuster Second Nightmare, because this board you can definitely buy. It's not cheap, but you can find it pretty much readily available. But Beastbuster Second Nightmare is not only an expensive board, but you really have to hunt to try to find it. So this entire series is just near and dear to my heart. I've always loved it. But of course I said obligatory water level, sewer level, well we have a canal level and that's close enough. Enjoy the music, enjoy the sound effects, and I'll be back in about a minute. I'll tell you a little bit more about Beastbusters. And now that I've killed what I can only describe, I think, might be a large mass of human feces as a zombie, I mean it's in a water channel after all, we can move on again. And like you'll see, there's definitely a lot of item management going on. When you kill that boss, a lot of those mystery boxes come out, and you'll see that there's a grenade counter in the top left-hand corner. And managing your grenades is really important because not only can they get you out of a sticky situation, but they can also kill bosses really easily. And now we have one of my favorite bosses of all time in any arcade light gun game, and that is a giant massive zombie bodies with an eyeball in the middle. And when you fought through the massive zombies, kind of reminds you of Legion from Symphony of the Night. We can move on to the next stage. And each stage feels unique enough for the game not to feel repetitive. We have another boss here. It's a bunch of stone or iron golems that reassemble themselves into a larger stone or iron golem. And I just like how creative SNK is with all the bosses and all the enemies in this game. And it's the same story with Second Nightmare. Now we're going down a corridor and you have all these zombies in storage tanks. So you really have to manage where you're shooting, because if you hit a tank, it's going to release another enemy at you and it's going to be a lot closer and easier for you to take a hit. And again, double stage boss here. First we have to stagger lock him and shoot him in the head, and then he becomes this guy, which looks like something out of a Cronenberg film, kind of like Jeff Goldblum's The Fly mixed with a caterpillar versus a fly if it had got into the teleportation chamber. But you'll see here I burn off some grenades and it really helps me win the fight quicker. And if you want to maintain your health and you don't want to spend too many credits, you're going to really have to actively manage that. But the game does have multiple endings, and you're seeing here that we're getting a little bit of a hint, and you can play the game in different ways to get those different endings. So I do like the slight replayability of that, because you can see different things depending on what's going on. You'll see the question mark of friend or foe. So like a lot of good arcade games, there are multiple endings. But now down here in the parking garage, we're going to get to one of the most infamous bosses from the game, and we're going to compare it to another infamous boss from Second Nightmare, just to kind of bring home the fact that SNK and the developers had so much fun designing all these different sprites. Because out of this garage door is going to come something that I've never seen before, and I've never seen after. And that is a zombie Jeep. We have to destroy the Jeep to see what's underneath it. We shoot a few windows out and we're starting to see brains through the windows and eyes through the headlights. It's absolutely, to me, perfection. It's funny, it's gross, it's weird all at the same time. And now those tires have turned into claws and you can see the nails coming out of them. I don't know how people think these things up. It's not the type of creativity or imagination I have, but good for them. Because when we got the second Beastbusters game on the Hyper Neo Geo 64, we have a tentacle bus. We've gone from zombie Jeep to tentacle bus. And how often do you get to say those two terms in the same sentence? If you do, your life's a lot weirder than mine is, or you've been playing these games as well. And like I said, I will leave a link to the full Beastbusters Second Nightmare playthrough in the description. That way you can check that game out, because it is my favorite game out of these two. But again, we're going up on top of a building and we have those football zombies popping down, and then ever so suddenly we're going to be revisited by one of our old friends here in just a second. We get the warning, and who's going to pop out of that elevator window but the zombie Jeep. He's back and he looks like Krang from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We'll unload our grenades on him, like I said, save him, and it's going to be easier, and there you go. Short of that, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Love hearing from you guys. And if you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, ring that notification bell. We'll be back next Sunday with another Unported arcade game. We'll be back on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday with videos as well. Short of that, see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.